What is up, Mr. Thomas Healy, editor-in-chief of Spawn, Todd McFarlane Productions? Man, it's so good to have you back on the podcast again, man. So much to talk about, Tom. Let me throw my lights on so that I don't look like I'm in my closet. I literally am in an office, but it's so good to have you back again, man. I had such a blast with you last time. We're waiting for Ty. He should be here any moment, but thank you for joining with me, man. It's a pleasure to have you.
Oh, honestly, thank you so much for having me. You guys reached out right after New York Comic-Con, so that was really cool. It's always a good time talking with you. I know Ty from the Spawn convention that they put on, so it's always good. Oh, I see Martin's in the chat.
Martin's here.
For those of you that don't know, Martin I'm very, very delayed on this, and that is 100% my fault. But Martin is one of our Spawnuary comic cover winners, so his art will be gracing one of the books very, very soon. I'm in the process of wrapping up the final batch of those with all of the various artists. So I owe some emails and I owe some contracts to some people. But like we were talking ahead of the show, we did not necessarily expect, and I'm not trying to make excuses, but we were not really prepared for how well the new books were received. You know, Todd and I had that conversation, and it was a situation of, hey, we're going to launch these new books. And, you know, we launched from 1 to 4 and that went, we'll do these other ones. They may not, maybe Spawn, Gunslinger Spawn drops off, or Scorch drops off, or King Spawn, or maybe Sam and Twitch doesn't make it, but they all sell really well. So we haven't had to cancel any of them, which has just made my life very difficult, as we were talking earlier. It's just a lot of work. So Martin, I do appreciate your incredible entry in the contest, and I'm working on it right now, and I'm hoping to get all of the Spawnuary people finally wrapped up before the end of this month. And then those covers are going to start filtering out onto the core Spawn titles, potentially. And I'm going to reach out to some of them that did some cool stuff and go like, hey, do you want to be one of the featured covers on one of our new books? Because some people, you know, maybe they want to be on a big number 1 or something. Who knows?
That'd be amazing. Yeah. That's awesome, man. Yeah. I mean, Martin, congratulations. I thought Spawnuary was so freaking incredible. The amount of art that we got teased with from all these amazing artists from everywhere was absolutely incredible, and seeing those coming every single day. What a fun event, man. Is that something that's going to continue moving forward, you think, Thomas?
It might. I think it was a good turnout. I think we need to manage it a little bit better. I don't think they were prepared. You know, this kind of came, I was outside of the sphere of that being put together, knowing it was happening, but then they were like, the PR team was like, we'll take care of everything. And what I heard is I think they had over 30,000 entries. So it just, I don't know that they had enough time to really go through and spend the time. So I think we might, if we do something like that again, probably have to come up with a little bit more, not just, hey, tag it on Instagram and we'll find it kind of scenario. So but we found some amazing artists. And I hope we can do something along those lines as well. Even ones that didn't get selected for the contest, I still got to go through a lot of those entries. So we've had a few that we've reached out to, and you know, maybe they get on, maybe their piece that wasn't selected, but maybe some of their other arts, like, okay, you know what, you're good. Let's continue to work. Let me give you some suggestions, because I think you're right there. So hey, I have that shirt, Ty, man. How you doing, brother?
You have this shirt?
I have that shirt, yeah.
That's awesome. I just got it on the mail because Dino just finished them. So I'm totally like premiering this shirt, glow in the dark.
Nice. Yep.
How are you guys? How are you, Tommy? How are you, Thomas?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me on the show again, guys.
Absolutely, Thomas. I mean, come on, man. With everything that's gone on this year, with all the different titles, we were kind of talking before, but Thomas, you and the team are just pumping out some amazing stuff. And then we get all this news from New York Comic-Con and all these articles coming out about 2025. Yeah, man. Foot is like all the way down on the gas. And I don't think anybody at Spawn is playing around. It's been fun.
No, we're definitely not. And I like to reiterate, and I've said this on a few interviews, so if I'm repeating myself, I apologize. But one of the things that we're really looking to do is not to go to the big time Spawn fans like you guys and Ty, and I chat in the comments and stuff like that. These guys that I know from the Spawn groups, that I've met in person, that I know buy everything. We're really truly not expecting you guys to go, oh, it's another Spawn series, I got to pick it up, I got to get both covers or whatever incentives they might do. we really don't expect that. What we are hoping to do is to say, look, we know that the Spawn fans exist. They've been around for 30 years. They're hardcore. They have collections like Spawnhunter right behind you. And they're gonna buy anything. But there's a lot of people that, you know, hey man, I like Spawn, and my little brother doesn't, or my girlfriend couldn't care less. But you know what? I thought she might like Misery, so I picked that up. Or my little brother's really into the Cyberpunk game, so I got him Rat City. So all we're really trying to do is say, hey, we want to set everything in our universe, and we just want to offer a couple of different things. We don't expect every single book to hit with every Spawn fan. That's not the point. So I don't want anybody to feel guilty. I see some people online going, you know, they'll tag me like, oh, I got to cut down on my collection. I'm like, bro, that's okay. I get it. I cut down on my collection too. Not only for money, but for space as well. But hopefully we can provide enough variety in our universe that keeps it interesting and viable for classic fans, old school fans, and then potentially bringing in new fans. And that is what some of these books are. You know, we've had Sam and Twitch have been side characters, but they had a very, very successful run with Brian Michael Bendis for a really long time. And we just thought, hey man, it's time to bring these guys back, not just as sidekicks in King Spawn. Let's bring them back as New York City detectives. And for the most part, I'm never going to say 100%, but for the most part, they're not dealing with supernatural stuff. For the most part, they're just doing like Law and Order stuff. And I mean, to me, that's what got me reading them before I was reading Spawn regularly back in the day. So hopefully with some of these new titles and the ones that are coming out right now, people realize, again, it's not just Todd and I going, hey, we're making money, so here's more books to make us money. It's like, if we wanted to make more money, we wouldn't be putting everything out at $2.99 for the most part. But it really is just to provide, hey, I like this universe. What else can we bring to it? And we've got people like Jimmy Palmiotti, Gail Simone, John Layman on Scorched, Joseph P. Illich, and Tim Seeley coming in on Bloodletter that are bringing very, very interesting ideas, very interesting concepts, because they weren't raised on Todd's orbit like a lot of the other people and a lot of other creators that were on those early Spawns. They all still kind of like funneled through Todd's general idea of everything, which is great on the Spawn title or the King Spawn book. But when you've got books like Bloodletter or Jonathan Galapian and Daniel Enriquez's No Home Here, they're coming at it from a completely different perspective. And so they're not looking at it through the lens of Todd McFarlane. They're coming at it like, hey, I know what this universe is because we've been fans and we've worked with Todd on various projects, but here's our completely original idea. And that's really what we're hoping to do. And people can go, wow, I would not have expected this. Like, I want people to pick up No Home Here #1 and go, I've seen Jonathan's covers. I've seen some of Daniel's covers. I did not expect this. There you go. Look at that. You got that. Boom. Boom. You keep them.
Love it.
Look at that, Ty. You got to keep them right by the desk all the time. You got to flash it when you're on the show. Right. You got to have that available. Jonathan pays me. I get $4 every time I show it up. So that's $8 right there that I just got. I mean, same thing with Rat City. Erica Schultz came to us with just an incredible idea of going, hey, I don't want to write Spawn. I don't want to do that, but here's my idea. And it was, I'm into cyberpunk. I'm into The Fifth Element. I'm into Blade Runner. And her dad was a veteran. So she's like, I want to deal with the PTSD of it. Like, you did that a little bit in Spawn, but mostly Al's trauma was from not having Wanda. Whereas Peter's is definitely PTSD from him being a soldier and dealing with the loss of his legs and the loss of his comrades in battle. So she came to us with a very interesting idea. And could we down the road, maybe Al Simmons shows up in the future? Yes, it's a comic book. It could certainly happen, but that's not the plan. I mean, that's not the set in stone plan right now. It's to explore what's going on in this universe, but at this point in time now.
I mean, it's been incredible. Erica has been an amazing addition to the Spawn universe, and Rat City has been a lot of fun. From a fan standpoint, from reading the comic book, but I cannot wait for the actual action figure to come out, because there was at San Diego Comic-Con kind of a mock-up of what it could look like. I don't think it had anything finalized, but that thing is going to be dope. I cannot wait for my whole Spawn, like 3 shelves over here. I'm not nowhere near Ty here when it comes to his collection. I've been to his house. I've seen it. It is it's like a museum, Thomas. You got to get out to Colorado and you got to walk through because it's absolutely incredible. But yeah,
I've seen his video walkthroughs, and yes, I mean it's if we didn't tell anybody, they would think that's the office. They would think that's my office, 100%, 100%. Yeah, I actually have the mock-up from San Diego Comic-Con of the Rat City figure. That was 3D printed and painted right before. So one of the painters took it and kind of permanently attached the figures because they were just in with like pegs and repainted it and resealed up the all of the 3D print chemicals.
I saw that. It's on your desk.
It's on my desk now. Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's a nice prototype right there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's a good one. That's a good one. If you guys don't mind, I remember the last time I was here, I didn't realize that there were questions coming through on the side thing, and I don't want to skip anybody.
No.
There were some good questions last time.
Yeah. Let's jump in if that's okay, Thomas. We got obviously inker extraordinaire, Mr. Corey is in. He's asking, with Jimmy Palmiotti coming on with Deadly Tales of Gunslinger, do you think we'll get some Amanda Connor covers, who is literally one of the best female artists ever to do anything within comic books? I love Amanda. Can we see that happening?
Yeah, you know what? You're right. That usually when you get Jimmy, you get Amanda as well. And I've gotten to know them both very, very well. I cannot confirm nor deny that, but I would certainly keep your eye out on solicits. So I'll just leave it at that. We would certainly like to do anything. And I got to give a big shout out to Corey because I'm in a situation right now where I get to work with some really incredible people, and I've got to work with Corey several times when he has gotten to ink over Brett Booth. And unfortunately, we're just at a point in the industry where not a lot of pencilers are currently using inkers. There's so many people are transitioning over to digital right now. So Brett and Eduardo Penseca are the only two artists out of all of the books that actually utilize inkers, and both of them kind of like come part and parcel with an inker. For a very long time, if you had Greg Capullo, you had Jonathan Galapian as well, until he kind of split off to become an artist and has his own book now. But Corey's at the top of my speed dial whenever we need backup on some of these pages. So I hope to get to work with him a little bit more again in this coming year.
Definitely a fan favorite in the chat, man. Corey, thanks for joining. A lot of let's see. Thomas, if I want to read the 4 main universe titles since Spawn 300, should I read each series up to its current, or should I read them in release order chronologically?
That's actually a really good question, Chet, and we get that a lot. Obviously, when Spawn 301 hit, everybody was like, oh, the best jumping on point if you're not going to start at number 1 is 296, 297, because it gives that really good recap of here's everything that's happened, and then here's all the new stuff. So now that you're at like 350 and you've got all these new books, we made a conscious decision to say that, yes, these are all sharing the same universe. These are not alternate timelines, but we also gave the creative teams kind of permission to not overly worry about if Spawn is in a fight in Spawn, can he be shown on a different mission or even a different country in King Spawn? Yes, 100%. So while there are certainly references to things that happen, especially early on, the stuff with the return, I don't want to spoil anything, but I'm sure everybody here is probably aware, but like the Psalms 137 and the return of Billy Kincaid and stuff that got mentioned in mainstream Spawn. The lead up to 350 with the quest for the Throne of Hell, obviously that crossed over into a lot of those books. So those few small kind of like convex points, those would probably benefit from reading all, but for the most part, I always like to say it's just a comic book. You're not reading War and Peace. So yeah, you could probably just pick up the trades and go, I'm caught up on King Spawn. I'm going to do Gunslinger. Excuse me. I'm going to do Gunslinger next. And then I'm going to do Scorched. Because for the most part, yes, there are references, but I get to do the little editor notes that say like, hey, what they're referencing is something that happened in this. So we're not so tied into the continuity happening at the same time that it really affects your reading. And I mean, some people may argue that, but for the most part, I think you can just read the book and enjoy it, and then just go from there. And you can backtrack if you want to look up a connection. The big thing that tied into all these books these past years is the fact that they all lost their powers. Post 350, 351, all the dead zones expanded. And so they have all been basically, I wouldn't say that they're human, but they're mortal. So they can die. The demons that looked like demons still look like demons. The angels that were hiding as humans and didn't have their wings out still look like that. They have no control over it anymore. So we've been dealing with that for the last year, which is finally coming to an end. And that was announced at New York Comic Con that on Spawn 360, which is coming out January 1st, 2025, will usher in the return of Todd McFarlane as the writer of Spawn. And Rory will be taking over writing duties on King Spawn alongside Yildiray Chinar. And then Todd and Brett are back together again. And then that will be the repowering of all of our characters.
Wow. A lot of good news, man. A lot of good news. We got Martin in the chat, and Martin, you got a fan, man. Matt loved Batman Vampire, which you must have posted on socials the other day. Jonathan, super happy to see you, Thomas, live. So good to have you back, Thomas. And obviously Corey appreciates all the kind words.
So Jonathan is another. I'll point him out if you can follow him. He's another gentleman that will be coming on as a cover artist that we've been working with over the last probably couple of years. He kind of ended up at our office one day, and him and his wife, and they were so nice. And I gave him a little tour, and he really listened to some feedback. And I hate to say it, a lot of the artists that come, they'll tag me on Instagram, they'll hit me up on Twitter. Or they'll mail something, and I try to always respond if somebody mails me something physically, their comic or whatever, and go either words of encouragement, or if they're asking for legitimate feedback or a review, I want to be honest, because if you want to be in the industry, it is cutthroat. It is absolutely brutal. And there's people that I've met at cons that they'll sit for a portfolio review, and I'll give them a good 30, 45 minutes, and I'll say, this is what we would need to see in your areas of improvement. We're not saying you're a bad artist. Todd's going to tell you the same thing. I'm going to tell you Jonathan Galapian, Steven Segovia sat in on some of them. And it's like, this is what we're saying. Like, this is how you're going to get better. And then I'll never hear from the guy again. Like, I'll give him my email and say, show me some more samples. And they just bounce. And it's just, I get it. But if you're going to need to take the criticism in order to get better in the industry, and that goes for writing, it goes for your art, it goes for inking, colorists, all of them. It's a tough industry to do. And I'm sure the artists in the chat are aware of it, because these are names that I've seen constantly. They're constantly tagging me, Todd, Brett, and all this stuff. And they're looking for that feedback. And Jonathan is a gentleman that I got to know really well. And he's just so nice. And he just put nose to the grindstone and came back the next year and got a portfolio review, and then got one for Todd, and then came back the next year. And like, every year was like, it's just getting better. And we stayed in touch on Instagram and email, and it was just getting better, and it was getting better. And then finally one day he sent something in, and I just went, there it is. That's the cover. I'm right there. I'm taking that as a cover. It was that simple. It was that simple. And then he got, oh, this is what you're looking for. And then like the next batch, I'm like, well, there you go. That's it. Here's your contract. Another friend of all of us, Mr. Jeff Monk.
Yeah.
You know how he's just such a humble dude, and he's such a nice guy. And he's always like, he never pressures me. He's never bugging me. How about this piece? How about this piece? How about this piece? And it's just like, just keep posting. And he did this one. It was just such a simple piece. It was just like this mask. And I think it's coming out on issue 362. I think it's been solicited already. And it's just like the face markings of Spawn. I'm like, it's just so clean. I love it. I want it. And there's been another one that we picked up. I don't know that he's announced that one yet, because I haven't solicited anything. But again, he just took the feedback. And I know, man, every show he goes to, he's just hustling and just getting those critiques and not taking it personally, and just going, all right, this is how I'm going to get better. And yes, Adam, Jeff is going to the moon. I want him on more covers. I want Jonathan on more covers. Martin's going to be a Spawnuary cover. That's probably not going to be the last one from him. So, I mean, that's what we're all excited about. We look at Spawn and go, yeah, is it cool if we can get a Greg Capullo cover when he's done with Wolverine? Sure. And Clayton Crane and all these guys, they've done a million covers for Spawn, and they all look amazing doing it. But Todd is also notorious for just finding new talent. And, you know, he loves just going through Instagram and looking up the hashtag comic art. And I'll just get Instagram direct messages at 3:00 in the morning. What do you think about this guy? Check out this guy. And it's like, The guy's got 400 followers. He lives in the Philippines, and he's incredible. And now we're gonna get stuff from him, and that's how we found a lot of our cover artists that have just gotten huge. Bjorn Barons.
I experienced that firsthand with Jeff because we were roommates for the New York Comic Con, and he was so hard on himself every night, and he would like, Ty, what do you think of this? And I'm like, that dude likes, that looks awesome. Like, no, it's trash. Like, I hate it. Like, no, you're so hard on yourself. But that's part of the work. I believe as an artist, they're their own worst critics when it comes to their work. But sometimes it takes somebody else, like a friend, and somebody like, no, that looks really good. That's incredible. And I'm so happy to have shared that journey with Jeff Monk from doing the hustle and now to see his covers come to reality.
Yeah.
So it's something really unique and special to see. And kind of that leads to a question that I have for you, Thomas. You mentioned you guys are always looking at artists. You're always looking at art. And I mean, there's a whole spectrum of artists out there. How do you, as an editor, you're looking at art, do you guys can tell, or does it make a difference if it's AI generated or anything like that? Do you look at it like, oh, I'm not looking for that, or is AI already incorporated within this bubble, this world of comics that we live in today?
It is certainly in the bubble. Like Todd has no definitive position, yes or no. I mean, I think he's got his NFT space. As far as I know, certainly there's been some news stories about some big name artists that were accused of utilizing AI that we were working with that was not known to us at the time. So that kind of ended. But as far as I know, we haven't utilized any AI on any of the covers or the interior art on any of the books right now. There was a weird cover and it got called out as AI on the groups, and the artist like totally jumped on. He's like, no, it was just a mistake. And then I don't know who it was like, yeah, they made the same mistake in Punisher in 1985 before AI, because he drew an extra finger on She-Spawn when she was holding a gun, and people were like, yeah, the hands are the hardest thing to do. It was not AI, and I can guarantee it wasn't, because I saw his rough sketch. I saw it as it was coming on. Nobody caught that he drew an extra finger. And it was a mistake, and that does happen often. But as of now, I don't believe that we have intentionally used any AI. The final decision of that is going to end up being Todd, and right now we just haven't chosen to do it. So it's his name on the masthead. So if that happens, it happens. But right now we're not doing that. So. Chet, yes. So it's actually simple. I figured this out on how to do this. How do you possibly handle chief editing job on all these titles?
Yeah, we want to know.
So usually, I live about 45 minutes from the office. So we're into a point now where I don't go into the office every day. Like I'm at home right now. So some interviews you'll see me at home, but I'm usually always in there at least Monday, Tuesday, because that's press day. So what happens is I'll 45-minute drive in, be there for 8 to 9 hours, and then come home. And then what I do, Chit, is I immediately just get into the bathtub and cry for a good 3 hours. Usually I can calm down by then. But no, it is tough. Tommy and I were talking about ahead of time. People think it's a big company because we stupidly put out a bunch of comic books. But for the longest time, it was 3 people. And it was Todd and myself, Shannon Bailey, who a lot of people know. She's Todd's right hand with the purple hair at the cons. She's the one that yells at everybody to tell him to get away from Todd because he's got to get to his next show. And she's amazing. And I would not have had this job without her. And that was myself as the publishing coordinator. Now that we've got, going on almost 20 books in various stages of development, and, they're not all ongoing. Some of them are one shots or miniseries, but that's a lot of books. They're not counting Todd. There is only 5 of us. There's myself and Yvette Artiago, who's my publishing coordinator, and she manages like all the files getting to and from and scheduling of all the books and stuff like that. And then I've got 3 production artists that are doing the actual work of building the books and InDesign. And I was telling Tommy ahead of time, we actually had to bump a book today for next week to the week after, because we had 6 books going to press all on the same day. And that's just how the schedule works out. It was like, we just, as of now, didn't have the manpower to process 6 books and do it. So, we still have to read, we still have to spell check. And I do know, I see the comments, guys. I'm aware sometimes the wrong there gets into the books and there's a minor spell check, or there should be a comma. And I'm aware, and it kills me every time somebody points it out. And it all falls back on me. And I'm never going to say the reason is because we've got so many books, but that certainly does account for it sometimes. There are weeks that, we're working until 2 a.m. because we have to get these books to the printer. If we don't, we miss our print window, and they will easily just slot in somebody else because they've got a million other books that have to hit that printer. So
yeah. Well, it is a lot, Thomas, and I think a lot of us fans talk about it. It's absolutely incredible how much that small team has produced this year with all the new titles. So, yeah, I think we could give you a little mercy and a little grace, man. It's insane, and I can tell you as a fan, I'm obviously a collector of the action figures, but I'm a fan of all the books. And it's been so fun to see all these different perspectives from different writers that have come in, that have added to the Spawn universe. It's been a lot of fun. And like you said, there's a title for everybody, right? If you didn't grow up with Spawn, there's so many new things that you could jump right into right now. Like you said, Sam and Twitch, you don't necessarily, especially this current run going on, it's a procedural, a police procedural. It's a noir. It's so cool and so awesome. Obviously, being a Spawn fan and knowing Sam and Twitch, I have this background that I could bring to the story. But I also realize if you didn't have that, it's still, I think, a really awesome title. It's one of my favorites of all the new ones that have come out personally.
I'm glad you said that, because that was something that Todd and I are both huge fans. I'm a big Sam and Twitch fan. I think I was reading Sam and Twitch regularly before I was reading Spawn regularly, for sure. And that was something we made a distinct choice of saying, hey, we're not just going to turn this into Spawn shows up in Sam and Twitch and it's a supernatural, them fighting ghosts. We didn't want to turn it into Scooby-Doo. So yes, you're acknowledging that Spawn exists. You're acknowledging that this weird world they exist in is real. But for the most part, and I'll never ever say 100%, but for the most part, the stories that you're going to see in Sam and Twitch case files are going to be dealing with them as detectives in the New York City Police Department. The other thing that we're doing, and I don't know how clear it was really made when the series launched, was each one of these case files, each one of these story arcs is a different creative team.
Yeah.
So it just wrapped up with the first arc, which was 8 issues with Todd McFarlane. You might know him. He was good on that. And Shimon Kudransky. So that just finished up. The next arc, which is going to press this coming week, is going to be the new creative team, which is Jordan Burrell writing. He's a writer who's more of a screenwriter out of Hollywood, and Thomas Knocklick, who's one of my favorite artists to work with. They've got their story arc. The one after that is I will actually be penciling. I mean, I'll be writing that one. And that'll be with Von Randall as the artist on that one. So all of these arcs are going to be their own self-contained case. Now they might choose to reference or acknowledge that, but each one will be a start to finish case. So even if you look at a creative team and go, ooh, I don't know if I'm not into this or that or the other thing, but then the next one, you don't have to go, oh, well, will I know what's going on? No, because it'll say, here's the start of their next case, and here's the new creative team. And you're cool, I'll pick up that one. Yeah. So, and it also, all the trades will be broken down like that, nice and clean and easy. Here's the case, start to finish, story one and done. We're not going to make it a mini series because we didn't want to stop it. So it will still be continued in numbering, but each one of them will be its own story.
Love it. Love it. And then will they all be about 8 issue runs? You want to kind of stay around 6 to 8 issues on each of the runs?
Yeah, they'll all be 6 to 8. I believe Jordan and Thomas's is 9. Okay. And then I'm keeping mine like kind of short and sweet and typical at 6. Yeah. For myself and Vaughn. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like a good trade size.
I know we're talking about these new issues today, and one of those new issues spawned 1977. So 1977, the cover, everything about that I know, which is not much, obviously, it just looks 100% interesting to me. So I'm all in for 1977. It actually has a feeling of that, like the 70s kind of colors on the pop. I could be wrong, like the whole disco kind of vibe. But tease us about this 1977 title. That's
so this is we got that. We got that cover from Mark Spears, who's been an integral part of getting this project.
Huge
love
fan.
Mark.
Huge
fan.
So
he's so good.
We dropped that cover. But it is still incredibly early into production. So we don't even have interior pages for that yet. But yes, I don't want to spoil anything, but yes, the story takes place in 1977. And it is not Al Simmons. So
Okay.
this will be a story that does exist in the Spawn continuum.
Gotcha.
But it is not Al, and it's going to be its own story. It is based on obviously the original design that Todd did. But I believe once we start getting going, it will definitely be less of the sci-fi aspect that he originally came up with. I believe it was supposed to be. I believe that Spawn was an alien in his original design.
Yeah.
We're not going that direction. We're not going that direction. Because I think we want to keep it still in the Spawn universe. And while aliens, we have established that aliens do exist in the Spawn universe, this character will not be one.
Nice. It looks. I mean, just that one image of the cover, I was all in for that cover.
Yeah,
looking forward to it.
Especially Mark Spears, man. Especially Mark Spears, man. He's just been killing it on covers.
It's crazy. It just works. Just those colors just pop.
Yeah. And we got Jonathan thanking you for all the kind words. Thomas,
oh man,
awesome.
It's a pleasure. It is a pleasure, Jonathan.
Yeah. What's up? Jeff is in the chat. What's going on? Adam wants to know if you take cheap labor. You probably get that a lot.
We do allow people to work there. They just have to bring me bottles of scotch.
Oh, there you go. That's right. I remember your
all that happened. Adam, you made me the most popular gentleman at the con that night. So he gifted me with a bottle of scotch.
Nice.
And then I was immediately accosted by every comic book artist on the floor going, "You're going to open that now, right? You can't bring that on the plane. So we're going to open that and share that on the floor when it closes, right?" So thank you. You increased my popularity there. Yes, the focus book is moving forward.
Nice.
I have a meeting about that tomorrow, Corey. So yes, that is going to be going on. Todd is very, very excited about this. This is an idea that he had a long, long time ago. And that's just been sitting on it. And this would probably be the first true superhero book in the Spawn universe. Like we don't look at a book like Scorched and go, "Oh, they're a super team." They're soldiers in a war. They're more like Saving Private Ryan than they are the Avengers. They have costumes, sure, and they've got superpowers, but they're soldiers dealing with real world consequences. This is probably the first that's going to be handled and dealt with, even though it is still set in the Spawn universe. We've seen the character show up in Gunslinger. This would be like the first true written like a superhero story. And Todd's very excited to get that started. So, so yes, that is still moving forward. We're actually talking about that a little bit tomorrow.
Interesting.
Beautiful. And then Chet has a question. I remember you asked us at SpawnCon if Sam and Twitch should be a bunch on miniseries or a full series. Glad to see it's a full series with different teams and arcs. So it looks like the writer and the artist, it'll be a new team, right? Every single time.
No, a new team every time. Yep.
Okay, perfect. Yeah,
it'll be a new team every time. Again, Thomas, Knocklick, and Jordan have got something special, and then myself and Von Randall will be taking over after that. And then who knows after that, because they're all arcs. I mean, that's already heading into 2026 at that point. So, but we've got some plans. That's a book that I think Todd and I both, as being fans of those characters, because he likes that book. He goes, the dialogue it can be real. There's no supervillains. It's just two humans talking. So that we're looking to keep that going. Adam, it warmed everybody's throat as they were doing shots of it. So thank you again very, very much.
Maybe Tums after. I don't know. Then let's talk about some of these other titles too, Thomas, if that's okay, right? We got No Home Here by Daniel and Jonathan as a team. Can you talk a little bit about that? It seems early January, maybe late January we could see that one.
Yeah, that's coming out. That'll be mid-January. The solicit for that should be coming up live if it's not already. That already was solicited. So Daniel and Jonathan came to us with a very incredibly unique proposition. And, obviously both of them are known to be incredible inkers. Jonathan primarily famous for working on, Court of Owls under Greg Capullo. Daniel working under Frank Miller with all of his new stuff out of Frank Miller Productions and Ronin, and I think he still does some cover work for him. But Daniel is probably one of the most knowledgeable Spawn lore and historians that I know. And I knew he was friends with Todd, and that's how we met, because he would fill in every once in a while. But he would just start telling me, he's like, well, in issue 48 this happened. And I'm like, oh, no, I don't know that, man. I'd have to go pull out my compendium and look. But he knows it all. And their story is spinning out of issue 5, the infamous Billy Kincaid issue. Mm-hmm. And that's where it all started. He took one panel and just spun up the lore. And it's a funny working scenario with them. Daniel lives in Portugal. Jonathan is on the East Coast. And because they were both inkers and they were both doing the same thing, when they were both inking regularly, they would just get on phone calls and just work together all day on the phone together, just talking to each other, because they were just killing time. And they worked with some of the biggest names in the industry. So I'm sure they were complaining about those biggest names in the industry, like we do. They just started coming up with this idea, and then they pitched it and they gave us some stuff. And Daniel and Jonathan already started doing some covers for us. And Daniel really wanted to dip his toe in writing, and he knew so much about Spawn. And Jonathan, we had pushed him to do covers, and then we put him on the Ozzy Osbourne. I don't know if anybody got that Patient Number 9 comic book that came out with the Ozzy Osbourne album. We had Jonathan do that. And that was the first time he had done like a book from start to finish. And we're like, you got to do this, man. Stop inking, start drawing. And they just pitched us something that just blew us both out of the park. Just, it was such an incredible idea. It was so interesting. And Jonathan's style is just so visceral. So they just started working on it, and we wanted to experiment on it. So we're doing, that book is actually going to be when you see the first solicit, and then February comes around, there's not going to be any solicits for that book anymore. Because we're trying to do something. Todd's a big fan of old comics. He doesn't read a lot of new stuff, but he loves going back. And it's like, hey, did you ever read this issue of Marvel 2-in-1? Or did you ever read this issue of Team Up? And stuff like that. And he's like, those are all like bi-monthlies. Yeah. Like, we're putting out a lot of books. So yeah, we're keeping them at $2.99 for the most point. But like, we don't want to saturate. We don't want to have the fans mad at us. So we chose No Home Here to say, what if that's just a bi-monthly? It gives Jonathan time to really just go to town on the art. You got FCO Placencia, he's coloring it. It's like some of the best people in this industry are working on this book. And so that'll just be a bi-monthly book. And it's still $2.99, and it gives everybody time. Take a break. My wallet's going to be a little bit fuller at the end of this month because I didn't have to buy an extra comic. So that book is just going to be, I'm very excited. It's probably one of the most exciting books that we've got coming out.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, that jumps us right into Spawn Dark Ages. I know, Ty, you and I were talking about this the other night when we were kind of chatting, but man, you got Liam Sharp, who is one of my favorite artists. I'm a big Conan fan. Some of his covers that he's done for Conan are like next level. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he's done so many other things, but maybe talk a little bit about Dark Ages.
And that was another one where Todd just got a phone call one day from Liam and said, hey, can I get on a call with you? I want to talk about a book. And he was like, all right, let's get on a call next week with my editor-in-chief. And I had never met Liam. I knew who he was because I've read through this stuff. And he basically just came on board and said, this is my idea. I do a lot of stuff with Grant Morrison. I got some time coming up after our Green Lantern book. I want to go back into Dark Ages with all the stuff that I learned on Conan and stuff like that. And Todd's like, cool, well, maybe I can write something. He's like, nope, I'm going to write it. He's like, well, who do you need? He's like, I'm gonna draw it, pencil it, ink it, color it, and write it. This is his vision from start to finish. And we're like, I was like, okay, I haven't seen his art in a long time. Have you seen his stuff? I'm like, I saw the Green Lantern book he did with Grant, but that was not a whole lot of variation in the costumes and stuff like that. Let's see. And he just sent in all the sample pages for stuff and like character designs. And Todd was literally like, whoa. And he's working on huge pages. So if you got to see him at New York Comic Con 2 years ago, he's working on like 18 by 22 pages. They're massive. And he's just going to town, and he's like, this is my magnum opus. This is just everything I've ever wanted to do. Sword, sorcery, women, monsters. It's in this book. And so that'll be coming out. I'm just waiting for the go ahead. He wants to get far enough ahead so he knows because he's like, I still have other responsibilities. I got to do some more stuff over here, and I promised to do a one shot over here. He just wants to get enough ahead so it won't ever affect the timeline of the book. So we're probably going to look to see that would probably be like a March or April solicited book to come out in one of those months. As soon as Liam, because he's already several issues into it. So as soon as Liam gives me that thumbs up.
And what's interesting, you got Dark Ages, but you also have a medieval Spawn book coming out next year, correct?
Yes.
So, in the world of Spawn and Spawn universe, where we're sharing all of these stories, is there also a correlation between the Dark Ages and what it's leading to medieval Spawn, or are these two completely separate worlds that somehow live in the same universe?
Yeah, these are two separate characters. These are two separate worlds. I kind of look at Dark Ages as like prehistory. Kind of, Conan was like the Sumerian and Red Sonja was Hyperborean. They're both like before recorded history. This is savage Spawn, if you were going to do that. Where medieval Spawn, at least, that was around the year 400, 500, 600. So medieval Spawn is that character that was established. We've seen a couple miniseries before of him in the past. We know he got drugged here. So Rory just came to us, Rory, who was writing Spawn at the time, and he was like, hey, I got this idea. And I want to just tell a story of one of his adventures at a time where he can fight monsters and be an actual knight. And so he just pitched it. And again, it's just a quick little 3-issue mini. But it's just as fun. Marco Itri is the artist on that book. And it's just a fun, like if you like Game of Thrones, if you like fantasy, Lord of the Rings, it's just a quick little fun read that deals with some of his adventures in medieval times prior to him getting pulled into the present day.
Yeah. Okay.
We got a question from Chet. Any chance we'll get a Dakota title?
Man, I would love to do a Dakota title. Chet, excuse me. Yes. I dug that character. That was a character that was purely Brett. Brett just really just nailed that character. So I think she'd need to have maybe a little bit more face time in one of the main series, but I'd love for her to show back up again. I could really see, I liked her and Gunslinger, their interaction a little bit. She's kind of got a little Zorro in her, so, and she gave him that really nice little dinosaur puppy horse. I don't know what to call it. But knows Brett and dinosaurs. But yeah, I would love to see Dakota come back. I think we need to have a little more time in the comics, maybe establish her origin a little bit more, just so there's a little bit more interest, because visually she's an incredibly cool designed character.
Yeah, 100%.
But there's just not a whole lot known, so we'll have to bring her in slowly. But yeah, I would be down to see a Dakota title.
He would make for a great action figure too. I'm just saying.
Oh, I agree. I don't know how they'd fit the hat. That it's got the giant sombrero hat. Like they'd have
anything is possible.
Special packaging for that.
Build a hat.
No, but you're right. You build a hat.
Well, if you could do a gunslinger and the horse, I think you could do a Dakota and then the hat, like just really big in the side, like
That'd
a 2-pack
awesome.
almost.
That'd be good.
Love
but
it,
I always enjoyed that, because if you really look closely, she has the very large brimmed hat, and it's got the fringe, but there's a little cutoff just for her eye. But it didn't no matter where she looked, the cutoff was always right in the right spot, and it moved back and forth all the time. And Brett was like, she has to be able to see, so it just gonna happen that way. I'm like,
it's like Spawn's cape, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I have a question, because I get to hear a lot of it from the fans, and Spawn, Image Universe, right? And we've had crossovers in the past, Medieval Spawn, Witchblade. I hear a lot about Darkness. I'm a big Darkness fan from Top Cow, and they still live in this world of Image Comics. Do you, as an editor-in-chief, Thomas, and it doesn't have to be anything factual, but would you foresee something down the line in which we could potentially see some of these characters in the Image universe kind of crossing over for a little bit over the Spawn world? As an example, the Darkness and Spawn, which to me, it would be like the dream team, right? They both share these dark backgrounds and minions and all that stuff. How do you foresee that looking down the road in the years to come?
As editor-in-chief, I can say I'm 100% behind that. I've already pitched this idea. And I say this not because there's a problem. It's just not happening because we were going through our expansion. So it's hyper spawn focused. And then obviously you're finding out Mark was dealing with a lot of Witchblade stuff and getting that up and running. So it just didn't work because the timing was not right. Once Witchblade's up and going and we've kind of got our second wave of new books out and going, I will absolutely broach that subject with all parties involved.
Yeah.
Because I already had an idea of who would team up with who and what characters. Now I went the opposite way with you than you. I thought Gunslinger and the Darkness would be an interesting pairing, because what I really, really wanted, and I know it won't ever happen like this, I really wanted a Savage Dragon Spawn, where Spawn ends up in Chicago and they fight, and Spawn's totally a dick like he normally is. But I really wanted him to turn to Savage Dragon and just go, "Hey, I knew your father." Yeah. And he would have been proud of you. And then he says something like a dick again and disappears into the shadows. But like, I wanted that moment so bad because I'm a Savage Dragon fan. And I love that Eric was like, you know what? No, I'm going to kill off my main character and do the sun because I'm aging in real time. So of course, you know, Witchblade, She Spawn, you know, you've got all the team. What I would love to do, and this is me being a fanboy, not editor in chief. And I don't think it could happen because I don't know if this was involved in the Jim Lee moving to DC. Man, I would kill to do a Wetworks Scorched book. Because I've told Todd this and I've told Wills this, when Image launched, my favorite book by far was Wetworks. Yeah. I was not the Spawn guy like a lot of people, and I wasn't the Youngblood guy. I loved Wetworks. So, but again, I don't know where they exist now.
Well, they're still part of Will Portage's portfolio, and within Image, it could work. It
could work. So that would be my dream crossover right now.
Thank you, because it gives us definitely the fact that it's in your mind and you're thinking about it. It's great because then that would potentially go somewhere at some point. But thank you for answering that question.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that I'd say that Rob's bringing Youngblood back. I think the owner is bringing Rob back to draw Youngblood. I mean, that would be cool. I mean, Youngblood is still it was the number one book. It was the book that set the record for Image coming out. So, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a shame because some of my favorite characters, and there's a reason that Brett Booth works on our book, because I'm a fanboy for Brett, and my favorite Image character of all time was Backlash. And I own every comic that Backlash appeared in. I own all the weird crossovers, the Backlash Spider-Man crossover with Venom and Pike. I own all of that stuff. And so when we were looking for new artists, I remember going, what about Brett Booth? And like, you know, at the time he was very famous for his Flash stuff. And I remember Todd going, Brett Booth, yeah, I know that kid. He used to work for Jim. I'm like, well, he's not a kid anymore, and he's probably one of the most celebrated Flash artists of all time. So, and then when we talked to him, he's like, yeah, man, I'd love to get back to do some Image stuff and do Spawn.
I don't know if you can see it. There's Backlash.
Oh, nice.
1994. So 1994.
But so that's why Brett's there, is because I'm just a huge fan of his art, and
it's so dynamic. It's so fluid.
So incredible. So we could do that. Any hope? That's another character. You know, we look at these characters and go, who can support their own title for more than just a quick little jaunt. You know, it's fun to go, here's a medieval Spawn miniseries, because you can just tell a story with him fighting dragons or something along those lines. As a character in the present day, I think it's tough to do a medieval Spawn series because you've got to deal with the Mark medieval Spawn scenario of, you know, it's similar to like a Jekyll and Hyde type thing where they're not really talking to each other per se. Mark knows that medieval is going to come out. So a present day book set with medieval Spawn as the main character, I think is tough. And we don't want to just constantly keep going back in time to tell stories because we can. Haunt, on the other hand, I think is a character that is ripe for a comeback. You know, Gunslinger was our first one that we wanted to do because we just knew he'd be our Punisher or our Wolverine. You know, that's just like, you could put him on a team and put him in a solo book and it still works. Yeah. And there's a lot of backstory to that. And I will say, I do get a little bit of, and I'm sorry, Spawn fans, I do get a little perverse pleasure out of seeing people try to decipher the gunslinger Spawn's history, origin, who's under the mask kind of thing. Because he was, he's Jeremy Winston, but then he's Javi, and so it's a different character. They retconned it, and I'm going in all my interviews like, no, we didn't. You just don't have the full story. Which brings me on to the comment earlier, Deadly Tales. That is what is going to explain the origin. I don't want to jump off of that yet. So Chet, yes, I think he would be, out of all of the characters we currently have got, probably one of the next ones that we would consider looking into for a solo series. I think it just has to have the right take. I think he could be our Daredevil, our street level character that kind of just, pardon the pun, haunts New York and just deals with that, where Al's dealing with much bigger, greater threats. He's the guy that's just dealing with, I'm helping the neighborhood out, that kind of thing. So Chet, yes. But Deadly Tales. Deadly Tales is, we've been sitting on this for going on almost 3 years now, when we chose to bring Gunslinger Spawn back in 319. And we knew that it would cause confusion. We knew that it would cause like, oh, they're retconning. It's like, no, we're not. 119 happened. That was, first cameo. Todd likes to argue whether a cameo or first appearance, whatever. But 174, 175, they happen. They're in continuity. It affects the current character. But Jimmy Palmiotti sat with us and said, because I pitched Jimmy, I was like, you write great crime, Jimmy, and I really want you to do a Sam and Twitch. Can you do Sam and Twitch for us? And he kind of went, I'd rather do a cowboy book. Can I do the Gunslinger? And Todd and Brett were like really hitting their stride. And Todd literally was like, well, I write Gunslinger though. he didn't want to give it up. So we sat and we talked like, well, why don't we tell that story? Todd was going to get to it in these like little flashbacks over the course of 8 years, or we could just set a book in the period that takes place from the time you see him become and churn into Gunslinger for the first time, which is the current version of the Gunslinger in the present day, up until when he gets pulled into the future. And comic book history, that could be a 20-year run without ever getting to the point where he needs to go forward. So for anybody that is interested in that character and wants to know how we have solved this incredibly difficult puzzle, because it was a lot of going, and there was literally flow charts and explanations on who these people are. This book is going to be phenomenal. And I've been describing it the same way since Jimmy gave us his very first pitch. It's 310 to Yuma meets Bone Tomahawk. This is a solid Western book. I mean, Jimmy Palmiotti wrote 126 consecutive issues of Jonah Hex.
Jonah Hex.
There's no better Western comic book writer working today. And I stand by that statement. And he came to us with this pitch, and he was like, I just want to go over the top, like real Western violence. And that's what we're getting with this book. And Patrick Reynolds' art is gritty, it's dark, it's cool. And we've got some interesting surprises set for that book. But that book, if you're a fan of Gunslinger, will lay out the true origin of this character and how it relates to 174, 175 to what's currently going on in Gunslinger 38, which just went to
Love
us.
it. That's awesome. Incredible. Hey, real quick, because we got some folks in the chat, Tom, it's okay, man. We have a Hellspawn figure that we will be raffling off tonight. So before, as we're answering questions with Thomas and going over some of these new titles, if you want a chance at this, all you have to do is put hashtag Spawn77 in the chat right now. I'll give it about 5 minutes or so, and then we will do a giveaway. And then I think Spawnhunter, right? You got a sticker pack, your famous Spawnhunter stickers.
I have so much stuff here. I'm definitely gonna pull something from the shelves and we'll give it away.
I love it, man. I love it.
Since everybody's doing it, if you can get me whoever the winner's address is, I will also put together a couple of, I'll just say a couple of hard to find single issues.
Oh, hey, Ty, you can't leave and just jump into the chat like you weren't here this whole time, man.
Oh my gosh. Hey, Adam, you got to get that for me. Shit.
So we'll give it a few minutes. Let everybody put in hashtag Spawn77, and then we'll do a separate one for Ty. We'll do hashtag Spawn Hunter. And then we'll get you that information, Thomas. That way you could do your little thing as well. Excited. Thank you so much, Thomas. That was above and beyond too.
Not
by the
not
way,
a problem.
Oh,
Not a
yeah.
problem
love
at
it,
all.
love it. Love it, love it, love it. Well, we have another title too, and you mentioned it a little bit at the beginning, but that is Bloodletter with Joseph and Tim and Christian.
Heck
Can
yeah.
you go into a little bit more detail about that title?
Yeah, this was another one that I've known Tim Healy for years now. I've always been a fan of his work, and through him, I got to meet Joe. Really good group of guys. I knew Tim primarily because I'm a big He-Man nerd, and Tim is a He-Man nerd, and he wrote and edited and oversaw a lot of those giant He-Man hardcover collections that collected all the mini comics, and then here's all the information from the Filmation series. So he oversaw it all. So we would hang out at the PowerCon, which was like this big He-Man convention in Torrance, California every year. And so they came to us and they were like, hey, we got this idea. We want to go back and we want to do this. And they did this whole pitch. And like we get with a lot of pitches, it's a lot of people that really want to just kind of like relive the early Image 90 days, which I think he's doing incredibly well in Local Man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's harkening back. The covers are like that. So he's already doing that really, really well. So Todd was like, look, I don't want it just a retelling of a story that's like the 90s, because we did that already.
Yeah.
Give me something new. And they took their idea and they just took the whole concept and threw it on its head, and then came back, and even Todd was like, that's really cool. That's a really, really cool idea. Okay, so we're gonna go with that. And basically it follows a character. Like, we haven't really given a whole lot of information, but it follows a character that has close ties to Al Simmons, his pre-Spawn days, and it deals with her and repercussions of some of his decisions, again, pre-Spawn days, and then how in the present day with him as a Hellspawn, how these two worlds recollide. And we've got Christian Rosado on art, who did so if you saw the New York Comic-Con presentation, it showed that those are the first 2 pages of that issue, where Spawn's on the ground just beat to shit, and there's this incredibly amazing gal standing over him, just looking like a badass. And they came up with a concept that, again, was like nothing we had in the universe. It's not just here's another Spawn character that's in the present day being a Spawn character. They really kind of took some incredible risks that paid off for them. And we just found we went through a couple of artists, and we found the right artist that was like, oh, that's it. Christian's gritty, it's dark. And so they're going to be bringing a very, very cool idea into this universe. So that's another one that's going to be really, really exciting. And that'll probably be out like mid-year.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Nice. Well, let's go to the giveaway tool real quick. I'm going to share my screen. That way everyone knows it was fair. Let's see here. All right. Everybody see my screen, hopefully here. Here's the tool. Everyone put in hashtag Spawn77. While we're doing this, if you could all do hashtag Spawn Hunter for the next one, we'll get into that. But here we go. Let's see who it is. Matt.
Congrats.
Congratulations.
Nick 1983. Congrats, man. So what I'm going to do is in the chat, I'm going to put my email. If you could just email me your information. Let me write it down here. Email me the shipping address that you want it sent to, and I will get that over to you. So we'll give it another couple minutes, and then we'll do a Spawn Hunter. Make sure you get in your hashtag Spawn Hunter now. And then the other one was the She Spawn. So we have Gail Simone coming over, who is just on fire right now, writing X-Men and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
that's pretty exciting too.
Yeah, she was one that we met in New York Comic-Con 2 years ago, And Yvette, my publishing coordinator, and I were both there, and we're both big fans of hers. And Todd had randomly, because we get all of the DC comps, because we the toy side of things makes the toys, so they send us all the comps for like photo references. So there was just a stack of them, and I hadn't, usually we put them in a box and like they're free for staff to take and stuff like that. And he just picked up like a Green Lantern. It was like an 80-page giant or something, and he just was like flipping through, and he just got to a point, he goes, and he literally went, "That's real people talking right there." And he went, "Does anybody know who Gail Simone is?" And Yvette and I, we were working on the book that they were like, "Yeah, she's amazing." And he's like, "She writes really good dialogue. This sounds like people talking. This isn't how dare you and I will smite." It's like he just wants real dialogue. And so we saw she was going to be at New York, and we talked to her, and she was like, "I never thought I'd get to work with Todd." Absolutely. And she came to us and was like, "Look, this is my pitch. I'm really good at a self-contained story. So give me 5 issues, and I will write the hell out of a She-Spawn story." And again, we're going, okay, is she just going to come back and be like, "Oh no, She-Spawn's fighting demons"? She just came from left field, and we're like, oh, that's actually a really cool idea. Yeah. Okay, that would not have happened in any of our books. Like, she just brought a completely interesting concept to it, and so it has been a blast working with her.
That's awesome.
We have the artist Ig Guara, who is doing the interior art, and that his cover for #1 was shown there, and it's just absolutely phenomenal. It's just a fun book. It is just kind of a little bit of a brain twister, because she just has a really, really cool out there concept that just worked out really, really well.
Yeah, she did an amazing Red Sonja run that I absolutely love. And then she did a crossover with Conan when Jim Zub was at Marvel before he came back on Titan. So yeah, she's killing it right now.
Yeah, I mean, her Secret Six stuff is what sold me on her. That stuff was just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely. Could not agree more. All right, let's jump back over. Ty, you got your sticker pack, my friend?
In addition to the sticker pack,
oh,
I also found a hardcover edition.
No way.
Spawn. Still factory sealed, just like we like it. So it would be nice for your collection. So yes, we'll include that and the sticker pack, which should have the latest and greatest Spawnhunter sticker, which is the real hardcore collector.
No, I don't even have one of those, man. I don't even have one of those.
Yeah, we'll throw that in with the sticker pack. And the previous editions of the Spawnhunter sticker. There's like 6 editions of the Spawnhunter sticker.
I have quite a few, man. I love them all too, man.
Oh,
you make the best stickers, Ty, man. Yeah, I got spoiled going to Ty's house, man. I walked out with stickers. I even got really cool. I mean, let me just show this off real quick since we're talking about Ty and his collection. Literally one of the greatest collections I've ever seen from Japan.
Oh, the Japanese edition medieval Spawn.
The Japanese, yes. Oh, it's so awesome, man. Just to open it up and see all symbols. It's kind of hard. You probably can't see it, but man, I got chills walking out of your house, man, after seeing everything. So, all right, I'm going to jump over, share the screen real quick once more. Bear with me. I'm old. Here we go. All right, everybody got their hashtag Spawnhunter. Here we go. Adam.
Whoa.
Hey, congratulations, Adam.
Right on. That is awesome, man.
I think I know that dude.
I think you do. That's awesome, man. Congrats, everybody. We're just super appreciative that you all came and hang with us tonight. I think there's one more title, and it's a Todd title, and that is The Freak, which the cover that's been exposed looks freaking insane. And then obviously we have your other title, Thomas, Cultus Noctis.
Yes.
You want to talk about that?
Well, I'll do The Freak real quick. I think a lot of people, if they're looking at like the modern day Spawn stuff, the creepy, weird horror stuff they're going to automatically be reminded of Jason Sean Alexander's work, who he did an exceptional run. He was the artist when I first came on board, so I got to work with him for kind of a short bit before we started cycling through some different artists and expanding the universe. But his style is just so dramatic, and he paints everything, and it is just so incredible. And he had some time. They were taking a little break from Philadelphia, and he was like, "Hey, do you guys got anything?" And Todd's like, "What are we going to give him? Like, we can't say no. Like, we're just going to give him." He's like, "Just give me a mini series." And we're like, "Okay, we got to give him some." And then Todd's like, "What about the Freak?" And I'm like, "This sold. Like, you don't even have to tell me the plot. Like, he's just going to nail the Freak." Because Todd's been wanting to do something ever since we put the Freak into Unwanted Violence. That we did that 2-issue mini series that came out a while back with Mike Del Mundo, and there was some really creepy Freak pages in that. So it's Todd and Jason. They work so well together, and it's just them kind of like just digging into that character and just making it as weird and twisted. And I mean, it's almost not even like a Spawn story. It's just like this just weird horror, like this could be its own horror franchise. It's just the Freak being weird and messed up. So that, yes, we're working on that right now. And then for that, we'll probably wait. Again, we don't want to overload everybody's wallet. So we'll probably wait till that's wrapped up, and that'll come out probably mid to second half of the year. But yeah, the last book you mentioned, Cultus Noctus, the Book of Nyx. This is honestly, let me answer Chet's question really quick. The Spawn meter. The Spawn meter determines what their power levels are. Early on in the original early issues of Spawn, there was a distinct use of that in almost every issue, that if the clown could trick Spawn into going all the way down to 0, he would die. And that's what it was. It's been brought, then it got disappeared for many years, and it got brought back more as a fun little nod. They've been at 1 for a very long time now because they've all been mortal in the books. So like one bullet and take them out, pretty much everybody. So the other thing we started utilizing it. So it's been in the Spawn book. We don't put it in every book, but it's also been utilized quite a lot in the Gunslinger book, because it was kind of showing that Gunslinger Spawn is probably the weakest of all the Spawns. He does not have the same power set that Al has, or Medieval Spawn has, or even Jessica. This is a guy that really kind of relies more on his cunning and his wiles more than anything, and his just ability to fight. So he's much more of a sneaky, and which has been hinted in the main Gunslinger series, but you're actually going to see more of in Deadly Tales, is he has other powers that he's garnered that have nothing to do with him being Spawn. He's been able to talk to animals. You know that he's got a mentor named Waya, who's a Native American who also existed in the Old West times, and even Gunslinger's like, "How the hell are you still alive?" He's like, "Well, how the hell are you still alive?" So there's a lot more layers to him, because he knows he's probably the cockroach of the group. He's the guy that's going to survive. Yeah, because he has to, because he can't just rely on being the most powerful Hellspawn. Yeah. So there's a lot going on with him, but the book that I'm probably most excited for, Cultus Noxus, the Book of Nyx. Nyx is a character that I'm a big fan of, going back to her early days in the book, when she kind of tricked Spawn, stole some Spawn juice, and snuck her way into hell, and then was very helpful afterwards, and became kind of a sidekick character. Disappeared. I believe it was issue like 185, and that was right as Spawn decides to kill himself, and the Jim Downing started, and then shows back up in 300 and immediately gets shot in the head. So they did that. But there was a couple of unanswered questions, because she gets shot in the head. What did she discover that Cog said she needs to die? And also, what surprised a lot of people, how did she know Jessica? Because if you remember, Jessica's the one that finds the body and is like, "Oh my God," they had never met in the books before. And then all of a sudden the power transfers over to Nyx. Then when Rory was talking about bringing in a Scion for Greenworld, they were going to create a new character. And I was like, no. What if we bring back Nyx? She's a witch. Witch is her nature. So they used Nyx. And I thought Carlo Barbary did an incredible design for her. She still had the long, like the colored hair, so you can kind of just tell, oh, it's Nyx, but she's kind of special now. And then when we were leading into 350, we had the conversation of, okay, who gets the throne? And there were some of the really, really obvious choices, which truthfully we were trying to avoid. You know, I loved, oh man, leading up to that, I loved looking at all the speculation threads on Reddit. Oh, it's going to be Wanda. It's totally going to be Wanda. Oh no, it's going to be Clown.
Sin or Clown.
Clown. And I like to think now there's some people that probably took a guess, but we kind of threw a curveball and made it Nyx.
For sure.
So, if you go back in time to those early Nyx issues, one of the great artists that was working on the book at that time was Nat Jones. And he did some really great stuff when she was like that first version of She-Spawn that had all the spikes and the crazy hair and the big sickles. Yeah, absolutely amazing design. So he ran into Todd at Calgary Comic-Con because he lives up there, and said, "Hey, can I do something with Nyx? I'd love to do like a mini with Nyx." And Todd was like, "Yeah." And there's so much going on. Todd's like, "Just talk to my editor in chief. Here's his number. He'll figure it out." So he's like, "All right, cool." Todd said we could do something with Nyx. I'm like, "Do you know where she is in the books right now?" He's like, "I got no clue. Is she alive?" And I'm like, "Well, she's the queen of hell." He's like, "Does she look like she used to?" Like, I really dig the goth girl look. Yeah. And I'm like, "Not at all.
No.
Queen of hell,
very far from
crowns, horns. Like, we really can't do that look anymore." So he was kind of bummed. And I just gave a thought about it. And I was sitting at the airport, and I just had this idea, and I wrote a six issue skeleton for a plot, how we could tell the story of Nyx. And I called him up and I said, "Look, I think I have an idea, and this is it." And he's like, "Dude, I want to do it so bad. I want to do it so bad." So we pitched it to Todd, and Todd was like, "Have fun." So what we're gonna do is, it's kind of like the lost years of Nyx. So she disappears at 185. If you remember that issue, that's when Mammon brings up Spawn's daughter and is like, "This is your daughter." And then Nyx casts a spell with Cyan's help, and it just banishes everybody. And then at the end, Spawn's like, "You guys get out of here. I got something to do." And Nyx and Spawn and Cyan like step into a teleport circle and disappear. And you never saw Nyx again. You assume that they ended up at Wanda's house, and she's sitting there going like, "Oh, so you're the ex-wife, huh?"
Yeah.
It's awkward. Yeah, I totally slept with him too. All right, well, I'm going. So we're like, where was she between there and to what got her to 300?
100, yeah.
So Nat and I pitched my idea to Nat, and he loved it. And we're both, if you follow my Instagram, you probably know I'm the weird dude. We're both into the occult. Yeah. So we're like, okay, you know what? There's a lot of books from all the companies that deal with magic, and Doctor Strange, and you do this and you get glowing discs, and that's magic. And neither one of us really wanted to do it. And Nat really wanted to delve into the witch, her as a character, as a human, not where she's currently at, but where she was. So I had this idea. So we're going to start telling stories from that issue. And she leaves Spawn, and she ends up heading back to New York City, and she's shunned by her community, by all of the covens in New York, and by all of the witches, because it's like, you made deals with demons. You're working with hell spawns. Like, that's not what we do. Like, you're not part of us. And so she needs to earn her way back in, but something happens, and they realize because she's an outsider, she's kind of the only one that they can trust. So she kind of gets embroiled into a big mystery. And what we're planning on doing is, it is going to be similar to how we're doing Sam and Twitch. They're going to be 6-issue miniseries, one right after the other, where each one is another chapter in the Cultus Noctis, which stands for the Cult of Night, which is the Book of Nyx. So she's filling up these chapters because she knows something's coming, and she's not quite sure what it is yet, but she knows there's something horrific happening with her destiny. Yeah. And she doesn't know what the future holds. We as the readers do. And so this is what it is. And one of the things that we're really looking on doing is we want to bring magic into the universe, because right now there's no real magic. It's heaven powers and hell powers. And that's really it. Well, there's other stuff. There's Green World. They've got their own Mother Nature stuff. But Nyx was a witch. So what does magic look like? Magic to me in the Spawn universe is wild energies of the universe, and certain people can figure out a way to harness them and then produce effects. So this is what magic users do, similar to what John Constantine does in the DC universe. You know, Apocalypse and John Constantine don't do the same things. Apocalypse has laser beams and John does this. So it's just different types of power manipulation. So we're going to explore, and Bloodletter's doing this as well in a smaller fashion a little bit, what the magic side of things is in the Spawn universe. That has nothing necessarily to do with heaven and hell. We've got a really interesting rogues gallery, but we also know all of the stuff that happened between 185 and 300 is still happening in the background. So what was her involvement in some of these situations that up until now the reader wasn't even aware of?
Yeah. Incredible.
So honestly, this is out of the 3 books I'm writing, this is probably the one I'm most excited for. Because it's not just me writing a character that I love or that Nat loves to draw, but we're getting to kind of instill a little bit of our own kind of passions to it and go, okay, you know what's a real, like, how do we do these covens? Like what covens are represented here in New York, and what can we do? And we're not just going to have her do a hand symbol and laser beam shoot out of her face. You know, it's like, what does magic really look like? What's the cost of that to a human? So
I'm glad that I got to hear from the writer himself, right, Tommy? Like, and it's great because it's those are the works that really show the passion for the material. If you're familiar with that and you're passionate about it and you put it down, those are the stories that really grab you. So now that I've got a better picture, a fuller picture of what that book is going to be about, then I'm very interested in doing it.
Yeah. And I think you'll see that with a lot of the new books. I think you'll see that with a lot of new books. Jimmy wanted to do a Western. It's not a hired gig. It wasn't just here's a paycheck. This is what we need you to write. Because if he did, he would be writing Sam and Twitch, but he's like, no, I want to write a Western. So we gave him the passion project. Jonathan and Daniel came up with 2 years worth of story before they even told us they wanted to write it or they wanted to do it. Like, they put in all the work before even coming to us. So you'll see that. And I think Nat and myself in this book, you're going to see that we're trying to bring, again, we're not just living off of the Spawn lore. We're bringing things we really like. I've got a stack of books. It's like, okay, magic circles. Like, we got to have legit ones.
Yeah.
So Nat here, I want you to use this Slavic one that I found in this grimoire from 1642. So yeah. And then I get to write off all of the weird magic books that I buy. Because some of them are stupidly expensive.
Well, it's crazy that we're at this point in 2024. We're almost in 2025, and we have so many titles out there that belong in the Spawn universe. So going back again to the early days of Image, back in the day, there was this Image number 0 mail away comic book, right? And what it was that you had to buy different titles from Image Comics at the time, and each title had a coupon that you collected. So you had to collect about, I believe, 6 of these coupons from each comic. So Youngblood had a coupon, Spawn had a coupon, Wetworks had a coupon, and then you mailed it in, and you got in return a mail-away exclusive, which was Image number 0. Now that we have so many Spawn books, Thomas, and the universe keeps growing, I mean, I'm just throwing that out there like an idea. Would that be room for something?
Bro, that's not a bad idea at all. That's not a bad idea. I think, everything goes in cycles, but people, when they look back, they either love the 90s of comic books or they go, oh, so many foil, die cut, lenticular variants. But some people look at that with a lot of love and a lot of passion. Todd's always one for yes. If you're selling a book at New York Comic Con, you have to limit it. I mean, we can't just, you have to, because it's a special thing. But for the most part, and again, never say 100%, for the most part, we don't overdo it with our ratio variants. I mean, other than, and I'm not talking about Batman Spawn stuff. When's the last time we did one? Meaning a Spawn universe title? It's been a very long time.
Yeah.
But you are going to see one for Spawn 360. That should hopefully be going live tomorrow. But not a crazy number either. Not a crazy number, but you know what I'm saying? So we try to make it where, I mean, anybody should conceivably be able to get almost every book.
Yeah.
But I like that idea, and I think it to me, it's almost like a little treasure hunt, because you might get people to start reading or picking up a book that they don't want. And then I'm going to be completely honest, the former retailer in me, because I managed comic shops for many years, is going to, they're probably going to pick up two, because they're going to want one to cut the coupon out. They're going to want one that doesn't have the coupon cut out, because then if that gets CGC'd, you get the little thing that says coupon included. So then you're doubling your sales for all those books. But no, I'm 100% going to bring that up, because I think it's a great idea. And again, it harkens back to that kind of like old school image that people love.
Yes.
And it's more fun. It's not just saying, here's a 1 in 1,000 signed variant. Good luck with that. It's no. Everybody can get this.
Yeah.
Like, again, to tie back, He-Man did that. They had a tie-in with Wonder Bread in the 80s. And it was basically a He-Man figure with brown hair, and he was named Wondar the Barbarian. But like now that's a super rare figure, because half the kids didn't know to cut out the UPC code on their Wonder Bread packages and send that in. But so this could be another fun thing where it's not gouging our customers to buy a 1 in 1,000 variant. It's going, hey, here's a fun little thing. If you have to buy a bunch of $2.99 comic books, you get a book that's going to probably be pretty rare.
Yeah, and you said it. It's the fun factor that we're throwing in there, right? Because I'm going back to those early Image books. It was just a matter of like, I didn't read Savage Dragon, for example, but I had to buy Savage Dragon to get the coupon to mail away for my Image number 0 comic. And what the Image number 0 comic was basically kind of a catalog of all the titles that Image was producing at the time. So I feel that now we're at the point where the Spawn universe has so many titles that why not have some fun, like you said, treasure hunt. You mail in for this one exclusive book and special cover, whatever, and it's gonna be awesome. Just throwing that out there.
I'll bring it up. I enjoy. I'm not saying I want foil covers on everything or whatever, but I enjoy fun things. To me, comics should be fun. It always irks me when I see people lamenting, I want to read Spawn, but they're already at 350, so like I can't read it now. It's like, man, it's just a comic book. Just go buy the next issue and start reading it. You'll catch up, and then over time, you can start buying the early issues.
Yeah,
it's not the end of the world that you did not read all of Spawn, because I see it with so many people doing that for Spawn, and I don't see people going, well, Superman's at issue 1,943. It looks like I'm not going to read Superman because I can't catch up. I don't see anybody doing that for any other books other than Spawn. Maybe because the number's a little bit more approachable, but still, it's just a comic book. Pick it up. Go to what's the really good Spawn Archive? What's the Spawn Archive for just Spawn knowledge?
We got
Trent does it. Spawn World. Yeah,
Oh,
he does such a good job. You can catch up. You can read the backstory for the characters. You can pick up the compendiums. Still the best deal, the best value you're going to get. People all the time, why didn't you put the covers? Because that's not what that was for. That was to give you the absolute cheapest option to just catch up on the story. And if I had to put more covers in, that makes an additional 50 to 60 pages, which makes the book way more expensive to do. So if we just put this is for reading, this is for, you don't want to take out your newsstands and pull them out of that bag and board. Grab a compendium, stack it up on your nightstand, and then you can just read it and enjoy the story. So that's what it is. But yeah, I want comics to be fun. Yeah. I get there's people want to collect. People want to have rarity in their life. I have books that are like, ooh, nobody's got this book.
Yes, you do.
I'm not even talking about comic books. I'm just talking about just regular books. Like I like old books. Yeah. I like old rare. I love the way the old books smell. So I get that there's that desire, but for the most part, you should still have fun. And I know sometimes the hunt for the rare issue. I saw a comment about the 187. The Will Pitasio 187 black and white variant. Like I feel like that grinds on people to the point where they're just angry. We do a New York Comic Con variant or some other cover comes out for oh, this is a tie-in to the video game tournament that they did, and people just get mad.
Yeah.
Like, man, it's just comic books. Just enjoy it. Just, you may never get it. I understand, but I hope that you're still just enjoying the comic books. That's what we're here for. I don't have every book. I don't have every issue of Spawn. There's tons that we don't even have at the office because they just never made their way, or somebody grabbed someone like Todd McFarlane on a live stream, walked into my office, and he was selling the booth, and we had all the pictures from the booth from 2 years ago, and he was selling the 174 gunslinger thing, and he goes, you know what, I'm going to throw in the issue. And I'm sitting at home with my wife, and she's watching it on the iPad, and she goes, is that your office that Todd's in? Because he like grabbed the camera and he's going live, and I'm like, yeah, he's in my office. And then he's looking through, and he pulls out 174, and he's like, I'm going to throw this in for free. I'm going to throw this in for free. And he walked it back, and he signed it, and he's like, here, put this in the box for the guy that just bought the thing. And I'm texting his assistant Bonnie going, well, that's like an $800 comic.
That's mine. That's mine.
What is he doing? And then another show, he went in there, and I was like, Bonnie, he's grabbing stuff that literally is mine.
Yeah.
Like, please tell him to get out of Thomas's office, because he does not know what's the archive and what is mine. So now he knows he doesn't go to my office during the live streams. Well, like, I then had to go to local comic shops and try to find a copy of that issue again.
Yeah.
Because like we need to have.
Now I'm having second thoughts about Todd doing a show from the Spawn room. Like,
oh, let's give it away.
Still Dreamcast game right here. Like, oh,
he's just gonna give it away. What's the rarest thing you got in there? He's just giving it away. Hey, Raymond Gay. Raymond Gay
is in the house.
An exceptional cover artist for us.
Yeah.
I'm particularly a huge fan of both the Sam and Twitch covers that he has done recently, as well as his Knights versus Samurai covers.
Yeah.
And I know David Dutch Malkin was a huge fan of the covers that Raymond did for us from that book. So absolutely.
That's awesome, man. Beautiful. Nate says to remember to call Locksmith next week. So get on that, Thomas. Get on that. I did get the hunt though, the one from that, the big banner.
Oh, you got one of those. Very nice. Yeah, I mean, it's a cool idea.
Let me grab it. Just show. It's so awesome. But man, my wife's like, how much was that?
Yeah, don't tell her.
Yeah. No, Adam asked what inspired me to write. I've been writing since the first story that I ever wrote. Oh, very nice.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
But
yeah, please answer that. That was the other question for you there, Thomas. Yeah.
Yeah. So the first story that I ever wrote, like long form, I was in fifth grade, and I was in all day suspension for a week at the school. I was at a private school, and I got caught bringing a dirty magazine on the school bus. And so they put me in suspension, and I had to do all the homework, but I couldn't talk to any of my school friends. So I finished it all, and I just started writing a story, like a horror story about all of my friends at school. And then like in between classes, I'd open the door and I'd slip them out the next thing. And I did that over the course of a week, and it was like 20 pages. And then afterwards, I ended up submitting it to my English teacher, and he gave me an A. He was like, this is great. You should keep writing. So, and I never stopped all through college. I took creative writing classes. I've put out a bunch of self-published comics. I've been in a lot of various anthologies. I was just, at the time, I didn't know breaking into comics, and I'm sure all the artists and or potential writers in the threads right now know how difficult it is. I think Kurt Busiek said it best. He goes, every time somebody figures out how to break through into the industry seals up that hole behind them, and you're never going to get in the same way.
Wow.
Like, people hear stories of Jim Starlin, who just was writing about how bad the stories were, and they hired him, and he was 14 years old, and he's writing stories for Marvel and DC when he's just a teenager, because who wanted to write comic books? That's not a profession. It's never going to happen again. We don't take unsolicited work anymore. I don't read, like, I'll look at some art, but I will not read any scripts anymore. And that was an Ed Brubaker thing that I saw him talking in an interview once. And he's like, I can't read any scripts that anybody sells me or sends me, because if I use an idea that's even remotely similar that I didn't even remember from that. I came up with myself. I don't want them suing, saying you stole my idea when I sent that to you last month. So we don't even open up scripts. We just, art's different. You can look at a cover or whatever. So I have been writing for a very long time. I just didn't have the opportunity to get any major work published. Again, it's been some smaller press stuff, some stuff I was in, like they did an anthology comic all about Morrissey and The Cure and stuff like that. And I did some stories. I did my own anthology things called the Heart series, where everybody had to write a story. So the first one we did was Pirate Heart Ninja. And yet the only guideline was you have to tell a 5-page story about a pirate falling in love with a ninja. We don't care how it is. And then I started doing really, really weird ones, because I didn't want to just do like an actual pirate and a ninja. So it was like he was a software pirate. So he was like a hacker. and then we did like Alien Heart Bigfoot and stuff like that. So it's just weird. We just did weird stuff. But my favorite that I did with one of my best friends was called Big White and Little Brown Action Bears of Action. And the story was, so one of my best friends is Colombian, and he's shorter than me, and he's a little bit brown. So I call him Little Brown. He calls me Big White. So our other buddy, David, he's like, let's write a comic about that. And we made them bears. So it's a big white bear and a little brown bear that live in Griffith State Park, and a spaceship from a dying planet crash lands in Griffith Park. And inside there is the last remaining child from that planet. And it's found by Big White and Little Brown. So they eat him because they're bears. But because he was special, they become sentient, and they become sentient bears, and they decide we're going to become superheroes. But they're bears. So they're not like, they're still bears. They're not like humanoid bear men or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They're just bears. So they're really bad at it. Like, they think they're stopping crime, but they're really just mauling homeless people.
This needs to be an Adult Swim cartoon.
Yeah, that's what we thought. We had dreams. We had dreams of grandeur. I'm really hoping that Vertigo picks this up.
Yeah,
with the new return. Me and James Tynion is going to be riding the Vertigo wave with our new books. So it was just a ridiculous book like that. And then I ended up getting the job, and I told Todd from the get-go, I'm like, hey, I've always written. I've written comics. I've written poetry, short stories, failed novel. And I was like, but I want to know what you want. So I didn't, like, I think a lot of people might have jumped on board in their second month they're pitching stories. And I was like, no, I need to know what Todd's looking for. And then we did the expansion, and I pitched a phenomenal She-Spawn story. And I know it's great. I know it's good. And at the time, that was pre us expanding. And Todd said, he goes, do you think it'd be worth it to find a female creator to do a She-Spawn story? Mm-hmm. And I said, as the person that just pitched you the She-Spawn story, I think it's a horrible idea. As your editor-in-chief, I think it's a really good idea, though. I think it really is. So, okay, we'll shelve that. And then finally it got to the point where it was just the right time, because, I help all the writers kind of maintain, this is what's going on here. This is what John Layman's doing. This is what Rory's doing. This is what Todd's doing. So I help a lot of them with their plots and their stuff. I do, when I'm doing the editing, I rewrite some of the dialogue and stuff like that to fit a little bit better. I help Todd with coming up with plots for his stories. What if we did this with that character? I've created a bunch of the characters that show up in the books. Like, what if we did a character that does this? All right, cool. There it is. So it just, I love my job. I'm never going to not be doing this job. The writing thing for me is something I enjoy doing. And I'm in a position now where I can just do the things I want. Because if I was a freelance writer, and I know I talk to them just like most of the artists, it's the struggle, man. You're going to take every gig you want. And you know what? I don't want to write Red Sonja. Yeah. I have no passion for that character. I enjoy reading it every once in a while. Gail's run was particularly good, but I don't want to have to be in a point where it's like, oh shit, you're going to give me a Red Sonja book? Cool. I'll take it. Yeah. I get to write now what I want and take some of the characters that I care about and write the stories that I want. Yeah. So I know that was a super long-winded answer, Adam.
That's awesome.
Sorry for meandering.
That makes sense.
But that was it. So that's how I became a writer. And I think, again, now I can go to Todd and go, hey, this is the pitch. Yeah. And he'll go, okay, I'll read it. I'm like, well, here's the thing. I know it's what you're looking for. And he'll go, really? How do you know that? I'm like, because I hear you tell every writer when you don't like what they're doing, this is what I want, this is what I want, this one. You're going to find it in there. I know you don't want superhero dialogue. I know you want dialogue. We use this movie all the time for writers. So if there's any writers in this chat that are wanting to do it, this may not work for Marvel or DC or Boom or anybody, but one of the movies we use that when we're talking to our writers in the Spawn universe, he goes, have you ever seen the movie Sicario? Sicario, great movie. Arguably a comic book movie. It's amazing heroes, whether they're anti-heroes or not, that's one thing, but there's no extraneous dialogue. I don't know, I'm going to spoil it for anybody that may not have seen it, so I apologize. But if you get to the last scene in the movie, if you can remember it, he shows up at the dude's house and he's like, do you know why I'm here? And the guy's like, yep. It's like, do you know what I'm about to do? Yep. Now I'm paraphrasing quite a bit, but if that was Dr. Doom and Thanos, there'd be all kinds of exposition and Richards, you dare think that no, we don't want that. That dude knows that scene was set just by the look. I'm going to kill you right now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make you suffer first. And I won't say what happens, but I'm going to make you suffer first the way you made me suffer. Yeah. And you got it. And it was right there. That Taylor Sheridan writes that kind of dialogue. It's so good. Yeah. It's so clean. And that's to me, real people. All the military dialogue when they're in the tunnels, like there was no everybody get to cover. They've got an M16 on the thing. Like, no, they're just like, get down. There he is. Boom. He's dead. Moving on. And it's not that there's not enough dialogue, but it's real world dialogue. And that's what we're looking for in most of the books. Some books can get away with it a little bit more flowery than others, but for the most part, that's what Todd's looking for. He's like, I want it to look like Spawn's a soldier in a war. Now the war is between heaven and hell, and he's a hell spawn, but he's still a soldier. He's not a superhero.
Yeah.
He's a soldier in a real war with real consequences.
Yeah.
So we use that. We use that a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah. As you
should. I would love to. I would love to do anything.
Yeah.
You know, I feel at this point there's a lot of, so I'll say this to anybody listening, not just you guys. We have a lot on our plate right now. We've got so much spinning out, and Todd only has so much time. And I know he does a lot of interviews. I know he's doing a live stream on, I think, the Odd Key Discord tomorrow night. Mm-hmm. I think doing some live art and stuff like that. But I would love to. So if you know any podcasts that want to talk about Spawn stuff, one, because I'm being selfish because I've got my own stuff to start promoting now. Yeah. So I want sales on those books to do really well. But two, there is so much Spawn information to disseminate that I would love to be kind of like the proselytizer for that and say, this is why you should be reading Spawn. And here's more concise information than just an announcement on Todd's Instagram. So,
yeah.
Well, so let Thomas, me know. Pitch me to your fellow podcasters.
Absolutely, 100%. That's now that you threw that out there, you're going to get a lot of connects, I think, on Instagram to have you on. But I always love our conversations, Thomas. You're always so
you're one of the first to have me, so thank you so much.
You're so gracious in the information that you share. You know, obviously there's things that you're not allowed to, but I feel like you always give us something. We walk away with a little bit of a taste of what's coming, and that's always super satisfying. And then when we see it and we already had kind of that glimpse from you and we're able to make that correlation to the comic in hand, man, it's always really fun. But I can't tell you how much I appreciate you, Thomas, all the work that you do. I know you're working your ass off with all these titles. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. And thank you for joining Mr. Ty the Spawnhunter and I. But we really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you again so much for having me. And thanks to the chat for great comments and great questions.
Yeah, they were awesome. The chat was awesome. Yeah. Well, Thomas, we want to be super respectful, man. Thank you so much. I'll reach out to you. Maybe we could do this again. You know, as some of your titles come out, it will be really fun to even just kind of go through page for page after like issue one's been out and just kind of read it together. I think that would be a lot of fun. And you could give us the insights as to why this happened and, you know, why you ended it the way you did. But that'd be a lot of fun.
Oh, absolutely, man. I'm there for it.
Well, me and Ty will be reaching out, man. We love having you. I really hope that you have an amazing rest of the week and a great weekend. But Thomas, thank you again. Thank you, everybody in the chat. Thank you to the winners. We will remember info@world@warcomics.com. If you're a winner, send me your address and we will get these out to you. But man, this is fun, Thomas. I could do this every day, man.
Right on.
All right, everybody. Hope you have an amazing night, and we will talk to you all soon. Thanks for everybody.
Bye, guys.